Okay. So this is Dr. Duncan was asked, he was one of the Mandali, was asked what he had gained after 25 years with Baba. And he replied, "It is not what I have gained, but what I have lost in the form of useless mental baggage."
Mm.
I'll read it again. When Dr. Duncan, one of Mayor Baba's Mandali, was asked what he had gained after 25 years with him, he replied, "It is not what I have gained, but what I have lost in the form of useless mental baggage." Now, here's one. Think about this one. This is this is one of the great Sufi, uh, one of the greatest of the Sufi perfect masters. It's kind of the stages of going through the path, you might say. At the level of the world, there is yours and mine. At the beginning of the path, of the spiritual path, mine is yours and yours is mine. On the path itself, there is no mine and no yours. At the end of the path, there is no me and no you. I'll read that one again. At the level of the world, there is yours and mine. At the beginning of the spiritual path, mine is yours and yours is mine. On the path itself, there is no mine and no yours. And at the end of the path, there is no me and no you. Let's see. If anybody else, here, this is Baba. Do your duty, but don't feel worried about it. Remain 100% happy, 100% honest. Do the best you can, then at night, relax and forget about everything. Keep happy, that is your duty. And remain honest. Don't compromise. When you do, you get a fear complex in the heart. That last one is a little interesting. Do your duty, but don't feel worried about it. Remain 100% happy, 100% honest. Do the best you can. Then at night, relax and forget about everything. Keep happy. That is your duty. And remain honest. Don't compromise. When you do, you get a fear complex in the heart. I mean, if you compromise your what you know to be true, you feel a little bit uneasy. Yeah.
I have a difficulty with that because I try and be honest, like 100% honest. But when it comes to the terms and conditions where I meant to click I accept, I
Just a second, yeah. I hope you got a ticket there, Joshua. Otherwise, they're going to throw you off.
yeah, did you get that?
No, go back, say that again.
So I struggle being 100% honest when it asks me on the terms and conditions on like when on software, when it's subject, have you read the term and agreed to the terms and conditions? And then yeah, and then so I struggle with that because often I do not read them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's worldly honesty and then there's the deeper honesty. You know, are you compromising love in doing that? Or are you just kind of, I mean, I don't read those things myself. I probably should. And I just go on. I mean, I mean, because there are millions of little tiny details. If you follow them all to the letter, you wouldn't even have time to go to India, or you know what I mean. So, but there is a worldly honesty, and then there's the deeper honesty. That's the way I look at it. And Bob is more concerned about the deeper honesty, which has to do with your character and your whether you're misleading somebody in a way that's detrimental to them. You know what I mean? You're not misleading anybody except maybe a computer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that quote because I actually had a similar quote come up to me in a dream last night. Like, so before bed, I always say a couple of Baba quotes that I want to remind myself of. And one of them is, I am meant to be happy to make others happy. And that comes up into that Maya Baba quote you just said, duty is to be happy. And yeah, and I just had that in a dream last night where Baba told me that again. So I'm happy. So yeah, it's great. It's really interesting to hear.
Did Baba came to you in a dream last night? Oh, fantastic. Well, you
Yeah.
know what the Mandalis say, that's a real visitation from Baba. It's not a dream, but it's a real visitation from him. That's fantastic. I haven't had a Baba dream since the 70s. You wow, no, and I mean it has great directive power.
If you'd like, I could tell it to everyone.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so it was pretty boring. We were in, yeah, it's boring as these things to me. On maze, which on maze, and and
You know what? You're breaking up a little
my
bit. Josh, you're breaking up. Huh.
uh, in the dream.
Whoop. Aha. Progress. As Padre used to say, progress. That's progress. Oh. Oh, wow. I remember oh my God. This was in the farm shed.
Yeah, I was looking up photos of Esfandiar, and then I came across this. I was like, "Hey, that I know this guy," because that's the first face I saw, and I was like, "Wait a minute!
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, who's that guy?
2000."
When we left it,
Who's the guy that you pointed to? That's not Jeff.
This right here is
Yeah.
Damien.
Yeah.
Oh, Damien. Okay.
Yeah. Farshid and Marjan.
Farshid. Who is this one right here?
Shireen.
Shireen. Who is Shireen?
She helped look after Sfandiar when he was in LA a lot, and then grew up with him.
Oh, wow.
And her daughter, and yeah.
Wait, that's Shireen who lives in LA. We know Shireen.
Yeah, that's Shireen.
She's still alive?
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
She
Yeah.
is. So what was her backstory?
Well, she grew up in around Esfandiar and looked after him, especially as he got older.
It's very nice looking.
Yeah, she is one of the most devoted Baba lovers.
Yeah.
She doesn't hear well.
Well,
Yeah.
she's up there.
Yeah. Well, look at Esfandiar. When we left that little gathering there in the farm shed, that's in the Darwin kind. We were walking back into the center, and he said, "I think he's on the sixth plane."
That's what Darwin said to you?
Yeah, about Esfandiar. Oh, come on, Darwin. You know this is his second life. No. No, what a beautiful soul.
Look at the difference. Show his top picture again, the very top one.
Yeah,
I mean, he looks so different.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, he has such a love sweetness. Yeah, now just
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
No, that's a website.
Are they?
Dante Plus.
Okay.
yeah.
It's not complete.
You know, Jeff, I was listening to a talk that he gave, and it was everything was closing out, and everybody, you know, the interpreter was like, "Well, thank you very much. You know, it's a good night, everybody." And everybody was clapping for like a good 2 minutes straight, and then here comes Jeff. Hey, Esfandiar, how do you? Can you just give us a way we could go on loving Baba? And Esfandiar like dropped into this moment. I mean, he really dropped everybody in that room. I mean, I felt it from the video I was watching. I was like, what? And then he just kind of looked at every single person. He opened his eyes and looked at everybody. And he said something so beautiful. I can't even tell you what he said, but it was just like basically just keep on going. You keep on going and keep loving him.
Yeah.
Straight line to him. Go straight to him. Like it was just very. He went on for another like 5 to 10 minutes. So thanks for that, Jeff.
Yeah. No, it was beautiful what came out of him, you know, because he was talking from experience.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know how to stop here. There we go.
Uh-huh. Oh, in the meantime, Mara Prasad slipped in. He got through the customs with all that baggage, all those illicit goods. Hey, so does anybody, I had something I was going to share, but I don't have to do that now, but anybody have anything that comes up? I do, you know, Sally, I wanted at some point that quote that you read the other night, I think it would be nice for us sometime to delve into that a bit. In fact, how about reading it again, and we'll put that before our consciousness.
Sure. Did you share it in the Justice group
Yeah.
Prakash actually shared it in our family group here, so I have it. Let me see.
It's about hidden conflicts.
Yeah. Okay, let me find it, Jeff. I'm not
Okay.
sure where it is, but
Okay, yeah, while you're doing it, anyone else have anything that?
I want to ask Joshua where he's going.
I'm going down to the city of Sydney. I've been up in the Blue Mountains visiting my family, my mother and my brother. And yeah, I'm going back down to the city now. Yeah.
When we were supposed to be there last year, we had a whole trip planned to go through the Blue Mountains.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's incredible up here. Yeah, it's really good.
When we get to go next, we'll find you, Joshua.
Please, yeah, I'd love to show you around. Yeah, I'll probably be in Sydney, but yeah, I'll show you around.
You know, I'm always remember Australia because that's the first place I ever tried coffee. I had never had coffee before. And then, God, I forgot her name, but she's a nurse. You must know her name. She's part of the Baba community. She's such an awesome person. Her mom is, I can't remember anybody's name. That's so embarrassing.
You're not talking about Sage the acupuncturist, are you?
Not Susie
No,
Amura.
Sage is wonderful. We stayed with Sage, but
Susie Amura? No.
Lizzie?
Huh? What was that?
Was it not like
her mom
not
is
Lizzie?
her mom is Gussie. Gussie.
Oh, Gussie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Lizzie.
Yeah. She basically took me and Adrian and was like, we're gonna have coffee. And I was like, I don't do coffee. I'm too sensitive. She's like, come on. And I was like, all right, fine. And then yeah, it was amazing. So
Down at
That's what I was
Mumbai.
trying to do.
Hey, Catherine's got something here. Yeah,
Jay Baba, everyone.
yeah.
I was just finding this quote, and it took me some time. I couldn't find it. And regarding to being honest and all that, and this is a pretty well-known quote, but here we go. So it was under one of the internet sites, basically calling the title being "All Are One," but it was from Baba's Path of Love, page 17. And it says, be pure and simple and love all because all are one. Live a sincere life, be natural, and be honest with yourself. Honesty will guard you against false modesty and will give you the strength of true humility. Spare no pains to help others. Seek no other reward than the gift of divine love. Yearn for this gift sincerely and intensely, and I promise in the name of my divine honesty that I will give you much more than you yearn for. And so this is a one that my mother had painted, and we had it on her obituary, you know, on her thing. And I've always seen that quote most of my life, and it just so means so much to me. And so when you brought up the whole honesty thing, I always think of it as being honest to yourself, you know, with yourself. And like you said before, Jeff, about, you know, about the love in your heart, and that's what he's talking about. And I also think it's interesting how he says about false modesty and humility. That's been a great lesson. That again, it's like, you know, this kind of this false, I don't know, maybe we could talk, somebody could share a little more on what their thoughts are about what false modesty is, and how, you know, just going through the motions, and, you know, when it's not really sincere, then what's the point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, there's, you know, and while we're on this subject, I'll mention to Joshua, you might find this interesting, but Erich, you know, grew up as a Zoroastrian, and one of their tenets is honesty. So Erich was very honest and everything, but, you know, you might say a little too honest. And he was like a little bit frank and outspoken. And you know, he joined Baba, and Baba let him kind of do this. This is his own description. Baba let him kind of be honest, so to speak. And then at one point, Baba had Erich alone and said, you know, Erich, you're very honest, but your honesty is different from mine. Your honesty, and this part I'm paraphrasing, your honesty sometimes hurts people, you know. And then Baba said, the truth is that which uplifts another. Whatever crushes another person cannot be true. That's the quote. The truth is that which uplifts another. Whatever crushes another person cannot be true. Even if it's true in the worldly sense, if it crushes somebody, like, you know, your singing is terrible. Why do we even sing? You know, I mean, you can just crush somebody. And that's not honest at all, even if it's honest from the musical standards, you know. So that's a you know, something important to just kind of, I always think, is telling the truth here going to really be uplifting, or is it just going to shame somebody? So I don't know if that you probably, Josh, you probably heard him, Erich, relate that to Mandalay Hall, maybe.
Yeah, well, I only met Erich once when I was 4 years old, but I have heard that, you know, and it's always good to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have heard that. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. Hey, so Sally, did you find that quote?
Yes, I did.
This
I'll
is
read
a
it.
very good quote from the Discourses.
Yeah, and the other night, Alan, he also posted the page number and from where it was. So yeah. So this is what we have here. The sure sign of a real hidden conflict is the sense that the whole of one's heart is not in the thought or action that happens to be dominant at the moment. There is a vague feeling of a narrowing down or a radical restriction of life. On such occasions, an attempt should be made to analyze one's mental state through deep introspection, for such analysis brings to light the hidden conflicts concerning the matter.
Beautiful.
You want to read that again? Yes.
Anybody have an example of of how that happened in their own life?
I have an example, Jeff.
Okay.
A lot of them, I mean, generally, but one of them that strikes is basically, my brother and I and my mom are having some discussion, and then, they said something that which I didn't altogether agree with, and then I got upset, and I couldn't control myself. I mean, I didn't say anything, but what I did was to move away from where they are, and then hid myself for about half an hour to 1 hour. And that's what happened. Now I'm thinking about it after I read this, and there was this narrowing of life, a sort of vague feeling that you're constrained, and that kind of thing obviously did happen because I moved myself away, and then I felt restricted. I mean, some sort of liberty is lost there, right? And I can be with the family and sit together and then chat with them and do things that are more, more in line with what one really wants. But then I had to take this, step and sort of narrow down my, chances of being happy together, and that sort of thing.
And you had to kind of work through that before you could kind of rejoin the
Right,
family
right,
and in the kind of inclusive spirit.
right. And
Well,
then I did realize after that,
yeah,
I've been stupid, and I talked to my brother and tell him the same. But then, that's the introspective part. I mean, so you think about it and then analyze and say, maybe this is not what I should have done. So hopefully, if things happen like that, I mean, at least I won't do what I did. Yeah.
yeah.
Can you please read that again? Can you read the quote again?
Sure.
Please.
The sure sign of a real hidden conflict is the sense that the whole of one's heart is not in the thought or action that happens to be dominant at the moment. There is a vague feeling of a narrowing down or a radical restriction of life. On such occasions, an attempt should be made to analyze one's mental state through deep introspection, for such analysis brings to light the hidden conflicts concerning the matter.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, all the talks we've had on effort and grace and everything, people do go inside and bring it to Baba and try to resolve it directly with Baba when it's possible. But Darwin used to say, you can't heal what you don't feel. The deeper the feeling, the deeper the healing. So it's not like you just kind of ignore these things, but you feel them deeply, and if you can, give them to Baba. And that, so that there you are, through introspection, you're going down into this. That's Ram Nori. He's
Hey, Jeff,
yeah.
up a little bit. I can barely hear you.
Oh, is this Ram saying that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
darn.
my old age, I'm short on hearing.
What about the rest of you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah, good.
Yeah.
I can hear you all.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, Jeff, is your microphone covered by a notebook or something? Or
No, but I've got something wrong here. Something is messed up.
Something's amiss.
you're turned down like 50% than when you usually where you usually are.
I agree. Yeah. Maybe you're too far away from your
I'm pretty
device.
close, but now I got microphone test mic.
Yeah.
Do you know folks know what
Jeff,
settings?
audio settings, there is like output volume which you might have to increase.
No, input, I think, right?
Output, right? I mean, mic.
Mac Pro speaker
Or oh, sorry, input. Sorry, yeah,
input.
input volume. Yeah,
There's something weird.
you can make that to like 80% or.
Yeah, there's usually a little ball there that automatically adjusts microphone volume. Oh, good. Oh, now see if this helps. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that was all Ram's fault.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, what we were talking about, the bringing the the emotion up, the emotional complex up deeply, feel it, and then give it to Baba. That's why actually I find that disturbing things that happen to me make me have to experience these things, and then it gives me the opportunity to give it to Baba, rather than get angry at the person for for disturbing my emotions. They're drawing them out so they can, bringing them up so that they can be given to Baba. Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, I find that happens to me quite a bit. I mean, almost. I mean, it seems like that quote is just reminding me of sort of like everyday life. It's like there's always a sense that I could be more free, or I could be more open, or have more. I always have a sense that there's some sort of hidden conflict that I'm unconscious of, and there's something that's coming up, whether it's in my interaction with somebody or not. I just feel like there's a sense that I guess it's the thing that keeps me wanting to. It's the opposition that like makes me want to overcome it and go to Baba again and again. Otherwise, I feel like I would just be passive and sort of just kind of like hanging out and like I'm good in this corner over here in the world and I'm fine with that. Or like there's something in me that wants to, that is always like feels like I have to overcome something or I don't know. It just feels constant.
I mean, like a continual challenge to your equilibrium.
Yeah, there's something
coming from outside.
I'm never really at peace. I'm never really like what I mean when I say the word peace, it's like when I've had in my lifetime those moments with Baba where I've had his darshan, for example, like the grace of his darshan, to me that is touching. That is like I have felt, I've experienced the release of like this cage that I'm this is just where I can really, there's just him. It's just him. And in my daily life, obviously I don't live that way. Like I don't feel that way, but I know that I can. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's a difference between remembering him and going through the grist of the mill and seeing what I'm seeing, and somebody says something, or I feel this feeling or go through that, and I always come back to him. And now it's like I'm okay. It's not Baba doing this to me. It's what was it? I think Paula said this is Baba doing this for me. This is a blessing in disguise. Where, but this whole thing about hidden conflicts, it's like I always have that sense that there's a hidden conflict, or there's my heart's not really 100% clean. I don't think it will be until I see him or I'm with him all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's always something a little bit off, you know, and until we're kind of centered in Baba in an ongoing way, in an abiding way, you know, and how to receive conflicts without getting caught up in them, you know. I mean, I always feel like our sanskars are going to be bumping into all sorts of things, and there's not much we can do about it, but except we can not react to how our sanskars are reacting to the world around us and the people around us. But I don't think you can get away from not reacting.
Yeah, that
know,
goes back to the first cause thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, instead of reacting to it and then it keeps avalanching into it. Well, it's because of this, it's because of that, and if things were different, I could be this and that, and you just kind of have to lay it at his feet at a certain point. Back to first cause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
And how do we resolve the conflicts once we find them? Because I have the conflict of one part of me wants to do my homework and the other part of me does not want to do my homework. So I've identified those two opposing conflicting bits. How do I resolve it? What are people's experiences with resolving their own?
You mean one part of you would like to work out the conflict and the other part doesn't?
No, like in regards to schoolwork. So one part of me wants to go home and study, and the other part of me does not want to study. And so I end up battling with myself over doing my study.
No, I know that state. Well, you know, I mean, ideally, you think, well, why should you bring that to Baba? But actually, that's the kind of thing he likes you to bring to him. It seems like, well, this is just such a mundane thing. But, you know, bring it to Baba, see if he can help you with that. Because that kind of conflict plays out in so many different aspects of our life. You know, doing the washing, cleaning up after us, you know, mowing the lawn, whatever. I mean, it's hard. I mean, those things that are practical sometimes can't be done without, you'd think, without Baba's help. Because you just don't really feel like doing it. I don't know. I mean, I find that. I mean, I have to ask Baba to help me to do very mundane things that I have no interest in doing, but they have to be done. You know?
Yeah, recently I said to Baba, I woke up and I was really groggy and very upset just for no reason. And I just said, you know what, Baba? I don't feel like working, okay? I don't feel like working today. You work today. And I basically put that to him because I was in such a bad mood. I was like, I don't feel like working. You work today. And then, but basically what it looks like is I get up and I still go and I do my 8-hour job. But that day was so different, you know, even though I was rude, I still did the work, but it was some part of me was like, I'm not working right now. Like I'm typing, I'm sending these emails. I'm like, I'm still not working, not going to work. But like I was actually more efficient that day.
Yeah. Yes. It is very, it's a paradox. You know, I woke up one time, I used to sleep at the back of the gateway on a cot because, well, Ella and Fred Winterfeld were across the way and they wanted me up there. But one day I woke up and I said, what if I just don't do anything today? I'm not going to do anything. But then I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to get up to the bathroom and then, God damn it, I got to brush my teeth. Well, I got to eat breakfast. I mean, the Sanskars are going to just do it anyway. Whether I'm in there nudging my Sanskars, they're going to live the day. Whether I'm in there pushing and prodding or anything, I can't stop the avalanche of Sanskars propelling my day. It was kind of funny. In other words, you think, oh, there was this one must that you probably remember. His name was Krishna. And he was they called him Krishna because he would just said Krishna's name over and over again. But he got into these bhajans singing at night, and he was a he was a switchman on a railway company. And one night he got so carried away with the devotional music that he forgot to go into work. Now, I mean, this is dangerous because he has to do uncoupling and everything. And he ran to the station and said, apologized profusely. And the station master said, no, you were here. You came in on time. He said, no, I didn't come in. Yeah, look there's your signature. He went over and his signature was on the book. And then he realized, wow, Krishna would live his life for him. So he just left work and everything and just went around and just said Krishna's name. But in other words, Krishna did his whole job for him. Actually did it. And you probably know that the rest of the story was he went around saying Krishna, Krishna, Krishna all over, and he would write Krishna's name on walls and buildings and everything like that. And Baba and the Mandali came to this city and wanted to contact this must. And they looked all over for them. They couldn't find him. But eventually, I think maybe Erich overheard him saying Krishna, 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 and brought Baba there. When this Krishna saw Baba, they ran into each other's arms and rolled over in the dust, in an embrace, over and over on the ground. Erich said it was just extraordinary to see the love, a reunion of Baba with Krishna. Anyway, that's another whole
That's
story.
a beautiful story, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Catherine, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say regarding conflict, I know I've had a real experience having issues with any kind of schedule or routine, because I feel like I'm a robot going through life kind of thing. And, I know for sure when I feel like I'm a robot, I'm in my mind. And so I find that my heart really wants to be spontaneous and not have a schedule and do things. And, when you spontaneously experience a love or enjoy life, it for me it's just so much more pleasant and is more of a sign of coming from my heart than being in my mind and having to go through all these routines, though things need to get done and all that kind of thing. But I do find that if I try to be more spontaneous about things and come from my heart, that more gets done with less gripe. I don't get upset about what I have to do, because I don't even think about it.
Yeah, the heart can do it much more efficiently, oddly enough. Heart and intuition can do it better than the mind and willpower kind of goading you on, I find. If I have to write a letter, if I'm trying to make myself write some letters or emails and everything, it is much more difficult than if I get into my heart and then they come out quite freely. But if I'm trying to make myself catch up on a backlog of emails, it takes much longer and much more effort and more exhausting. Than if I wait until I'm arrested and in a kind of in my heart, and then it flows. But I mean, homework, it's hard to, get your heart into homework like Josh is trying to do. Willpower.
What about,
Willpower.
what about Josh's dream? Of,
Oh, yeah, we didn't get your
Yeah.
dream. You
Yeah.
got wiped out there.
All right, yeah. So I was in this corn maze with Baba and the Mandali, and in the dream I'd been very desperate, and had been having a very difficult time in the dream. Like I'd been having a lot of suffering in the dream, and I'd come to this circle, and Baba was like saying that someone had to sacrifice their life, and he was going around in a circle asking people, asking the Mandali, and then also me on the side, because I joined the circle to do it. Some of them weren't, but I'd been having such difficult suffering in this nightmarish dream situation that I'm like, oh, I just want it to be over. I'll sacrifice my life. That'll be easy. And so I said, yes, I'll do it. But then Baba looked at me and he said, no, you live. You're meant to be happy to make others happy. And then,
Wow. Beautiful. Lovely. That's a victory. That's a victory, Josh. I mean, that you were open to him. And yeah, that's what he told Wendy Haynes, your duty. And also, I think his niece.
yeah, Shirin, yeah.
Your duty is to make yourself happy.
Wow.
Because that way Baba doesn't have to make you happy. You're taking that responsibility off of him. No, I mean it is true. Then he doesn't have. Oh God, now I got to try to make Josh happy again. Boy, beautiful. Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
can we think like the great scientists like Einstein or great people? I mean, they worked out of love. It's because of love that they were able to do great things.
Yeah, I mean, much of these great advances and things came out of love. But I think some of these advances, though, came from people from other planets where they had a superior intelligence. But Einstein definitely, I mean, he recognized Baba. I mean, there's a quote where he said, "No one knows what Meher Baba knows." But I have a great quote somewhere if I could find it from Einstein. Let me just see if I can. You folks go ahead. I'll see if I can find this. Hey, I got it right here. Hey, what? Okay, this is so Jessima, this is it. Einstein said, "A human being is a part of the whole, called by us the universe. A part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thought and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and affections for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening the circle of our understanding and compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty."
Wow.
Beautiful.
I
It's
mean,
like
that's
Baba.
right out of Baba. I mean, if you told somebody that this is a Baba quote, they'd believe it.
Definitely.
I mean,
Did
wow.
you read it again?
Yeah. A human being is a part of the whole, called by us the universe, a part limited in space and time. He experiences himself, his thought and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening the circle of our understanding and compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty.
Oh,
I mean, incredible.
Beautiful.
Who was that?
Einstein.
That was Einstein.
Einstein.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, incredible.
Jeff, I have it right here.
Yeah.
I copied this once at the factory.
Oh, okay.
You read once at the refectory.
Uh-huh.
And I copied on your card. Remember you had those cards?
Yeah, yeah.
The quotes.
She
And I
sounds
have
like
right here with me, right next to me.
Yeah,
Okay. This is a coincidence.
yeah.
It's great.
Lenita, you sound like you've been drinking.
What?
Anita, your video is cutting in and out. We can't
I'm
really hear.
I'm very tired, you know.
Your video's frozen, Lenita.
Hey, so here's
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah. You're actually frozen, but yeah, so hey, here's one thing I thought you folks might find interesting.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's on.
This is taking this on a whole different direction. Oh. Okay. I'm just going to say hello to Namita there. Hello, hello. Anyway, she's dead. So this is a very interesting thing. And it kind of gives you a clue into the experience of the Mandali. And I wish we had somebody here who's Persian. Oh, wait. Do we have anybody? No. Oh, yeah, Nasreen. Or maybe this is Hindi. There's once Gas Ali Shah Calendar. Prakash.
Calendar, I think. Calendar.
Calendar? Calendar. Okay.
Yeah.
He was a perfect master. While discoursing on spiritual perfection, he said, giving perfection to a disciple is a matter of a fraction of a second. In a word in the ear is enough to lift a man at once from finiteness to infinity. And such a transformation is not dependent on prayers or fasts. This is written in God Speaks. And then Rumi says, divine grace is not limited by conditions of ability. Ability, in fact, is conditioned by divine grace. But hearing this, one of his disciples remarked, "Sir, if realization is so easy of attainment, then why is it that disciples are invariably made to undergo a long period of trials and austerities?" In reply, the master related the following anecdote. So this is in God Speaks. A certain man, having 2 vessels encrusted with rust and dirt of many years, decided to have them cleansed. He gave one vessel to a professional who promised to clean it in 40 days, and the other vessel to a man who undertook to do the job in a single day. The professional began to work at his vessel scientifically. He subjected it to many different processes over a period of 40 days, and he made the vessel not only spick and span, but also a thing fit for use. The second man, who promised to finish the job in one day, adopted the very drastic procedure of burning the vessel in a huge fire. This cleansed the vessel quickly and completely, but made it brittle and worthless. It can be seen, therefore, that although both the vessels were made clean, only that which underwent the lengthy process was of any use. So then this is what Baba said about this. Baba said, realization can be imparted to anyone in a second. It will then be for one's own self, only with no benefit to others. The period of austerity, self-denial, and hardship which one undergoes with a master engenders power and gives authority to use realization when achieved for the spiritual awakening of others. Does that make sense? So the Mandali, many of whom will be perfect masters in their next life, they went through incredible suffering. And I'll give you, like, one time I was working with Bao Kalchuri, massaging him in one of the back rooms at the trust compound. So I had him in my clutches, and I knew any question I asked him, he would have to answer. And so he was face down on this bed, and I said, Bao, I'm going to quote to you a famous Sufi line, and you tell me if you found it to be true for you in the Mandali. The quote is from actually Mansur Halaj, but the quote is, suffering is he, happiness is from him. And I said, would you say that was true for you in the Mandali? And Bao, who was kind of lay face down, very kind of poignantly said, we were only aware of his suffering, year in, year out, month by month, day in and day out. But if someone came to Meherzad, they got the happiness from him. So they couldn't be in bliss around Baba, who's in infinite suffering. They were suffering tremendously. And one time, back in the 70s, I was in Mandali Hall, and Erich, Erich would be very casual and brotherly or whatever. And I saw him at one time, I saw him in a different way, and I said, Erich, I mean, I was young and kind of whatever, outspoken, and I said, Erich, I have a feeling that if I were to inhabit your body for a half hour, all I would want to do is go unconscious and asleep. And he flashed me, I don't think anybody else saw it, but he acknowledged the truth of that. If I were to go into his body, I would be crushed by the suffering that he was able to endure and still be very casual and with us there. It was all kind of hidden. And one time, Dan Ladinsky said to Erich, you Mandali take a nip now and then. And Erich said, what do you mean by that, Dan? He said, well, you take a shot of his bliss. He said, why? What makes you say that, Danny? He said, sometimes I see it in the eyes of the Mandali. And Erich said, Danny, we are the chalices that hold the beloved's wine. Others may come and help themselves, but for us, we never take a drop. So that's a whole different approach. In fact, Danny on another occasion said, Erich, I can see you making tremendous efforts just to be here with us. And Erich said, Danny, if I didn't make these efforts, I would be on the ground in the I would be on the ground in the dust, rolling in ecstasy. So they are staying away from all of that and just bearing the suffering that Baba was bearing as much as they could. because what happens is when realization comes, if you're not strong, you can't bear that impact. Lynn Ott used to say, you'll self-destruct in 3 days. You can't hold the realization. So it takes a tremendous amount of tolerance of suffering for the realization to come down and be able to hold it and be able to be of use to other people. Here's a quote from Baba that has to do with that. Joshua, this is something he said with Francis Brabazon. He said this in Australia. Baba said, "He who is intellectually convinced and also has heart can see God and can make others see God, whereas he who has only heart realizes God for himself alone and does not help others." This is what he who is intellectually convinced and also has heart can see God and can make others see God, whereas he who has only heart realizes God for himself alone and does not help others. But the reason I'm saying this is that a lot of the suffering that we are going through, I think Baba is preparing us to be able to bear whatever experience we have to face. I mean, to bear the suffering that's present in this world. So it's you think, well, why am I having to suffer all this? Well, I think he's making us stronger so that we can bear more and not just shy away from anything that hurts or is painful. Anyway, so if you're having a bad time, there may be some wisdom behind it, you know. If you find yourself, beset by suffering, it may not be a bad sign. Just think of Bao Churi. He spent like the latter part of his life in a hospital for extended periods. Ha! That must be Hindi.
Yes, it is.
Sounded like Marathi.
Oh, Marathi. Okay.
We're going to say good night, everybody.
Okay. Hey, was that did that suffering sound kind of a drag?
I said to Terry, did he say that they didn't want to be in touch? What did you say? That he'd be rolling around ecstatic.
Yeah.
That he didn't want to do that. That he needed.
Right.
And Terry said to me, if you were in love with somebody who was suffering, you'd be suffering.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they couldn't just be around Baba with who's right over there with infinite suffering, and then you're over here having a blissful afternoon. It
Right.
just doesn't. You become what you are. You try to be where he is, and they didn't tell us about this, but you found out about it through the back door, how the real experience was. They're kind of like parents who, the father's got to go off to the factory and the boss, he's got to work a second shift and the boss is, and when he comes home, he takes the kids in his arms and everything. He doesn't tell them how bad work is at the factory. It'll spoil their childhood. So they didn't tell us what they chose to bear. Yeah. Anyway, that's
Jeff,
yeah.
Here I found something that Donkin wrote in his diary. Just a few lines, but it looks like uh, the ego bashing is something that he got addicted to. That's what it looks like here. So he writes, Baba ticks me off quite a lot now, which I'm glad about. I feel like I like to be treated like the other boys and have corners rubbed off. Besides, it makes me love Baba much more. He tells Neelu and I that we are fools and good for nothing, worthless. He tells us he tells us that what we do is no good. But I like it to be like that. That's what
Yeah.
Tim wrote.
Yeah, Donkin really had a real understanding of what it is to follow a master. From a Britisher, you might say, growing up in a whole different culture, but he knew,
Right.
he picked up on that. VJ,
Yeah. Say over, Jeff.
yeah.
No, those suffering, I am just telling the difference between our suffering and Baba's suffering. Our suffering is our ignorance. Means because of ignorance we suffer. Otherwise there is joy. And Baba suffers because our ignorance. Like he wrote Dr. Donkin that you don't remember me, or you don't respond me. I have that letter. I don't exactly remember the words, but his suffering is our ignorance. He suffers due to our ignorance, and we suffer due to our ignorance. So this is all suffering is due to ignorance only. So when there is a real knowledge, then there is no suffering. And we should be happy that now we got Baba and we have surrendered to him. So this is finally where it is going to be joy ending only. So why should we worry? The end is it is like a movie, and he's the director of the movie, and we know that at the end of movie everything is going to be fine. So, and all those inner conflicts are our own sanskaras. So those inner conflicts which are related to lust, greed and ego, they are those sanskaras has to be unwound. So it is a process of unwinding all
Yeah.
the entire life. Yeah.
Yeah, but the suffering, but there is the 1%, or it can be more, suffering that comes out of love. A mother that wakes up in the middle of the night to look after her child, and I mean, her life gets pushed aside. There's a lot of suffering there, but it's a different kind of suffering from, from not getting what you want.
Yeah.
It's the suffering of love is an entirely different kind of suffering, and that's when I say the Mandalay, I think that their suffering was out of love for Baba. So it's like a little different from your ego being frustrated, so to speak. But like you say, Bob said 99% of human suffering is self-created, but there is that 1%, and depending on how loving you are, that can expand. The suffering that you go in the cause of love is real. I mean, that's something special, and it's, yeah, God given. Comes from Baba. But let's see what Alan has to say. Well, Namita, I think Alan is before you. Yeah, Alan.
So in terms of suffering, I remember what I was having a really hard time, and I was trying to remember this quote, and I finally found it, and it's from a letter that Baba sent to Garrett Fort. And it really spoke to me. It was like just a direct hit to the face from Baba. He said, and it goes like this. This is the pre-quote. So Garrett Fort returned to Hollywood to face years of unemployment and inactivity. He plunged deeply into debt and wrote long letters to Meher Baba detailing his plight. Meher Baba sent the following letter dated 3rd October 1937. Now you know that your earning power, like all your talents, is a grace from me, given or withheld as I deem best for your spiritual evolution. I want to say that again because that
Yeah.
hit me in the face. Now you know that your earning power, like all your talents, is a grace from me, given or withheld as I deem best for your spiritual evolution. You said in your letter that you have surrendered your life to me, that you have no ambition but to serve me, that you are a soldier ready for the call. But apparently, you do not like the call that has been given to you. You want the war to be conducted according to your ideas, not mine. Try to remember, dear Garrett, that you are doing my work, which is as ancient as I am. In surrendering your life to me, you must be prepared to follow my instructions implicitly, without daring for the result, which are in my hands and depend upon my will. My promises are always kept, but in my own way and at my own time. I am not a writer, so I do not always express myself as well as you might wish. I am not a pedagogue, so I do not tell you in advance what the lesson for tomorrow will be. I am God, the supreme liberator, and if you knew what strides you have been making toward liberation by the trials through which you have been going since you left me, you would be overcome with gratitude instead of filled with discontent. It is true, I use the circumstances of everyday life to liberate my devotees, but I use them in a way that is beyond the comprehension of the intellect. So you must not expect me to provide you with blueprints of my plans, whether individual or universal. Have faith in me, supreme faith. I am always with you, directing you as my own vehicle, my own son. Whatever is accomplished in all that you do or do not do is always my will. You are an instrument in my divine orchestra, an instrument which I need, but which must be perfected. I shall never fail you, nor will you fail me. You must continue to be brave as you have been.
Wow. Beautiful letter. Yeah. Incredibly beautiful letter. You know, let's see, Namita. I guess she's trying to work her way up. You know, what's interesting is Vivekananda was the foremost, disciple of Ramakrishna, the perfect master. But before he came to Baba, as he was coming to Baba, his father died, and the whole burden of supporting the family fell on him. And he tried and tried and tried to get a job in Calcutta. One of the most brilliant, most towering intellects of that century, and he could not get a job. Eventually, just with his tail between his legs, he just wandered over and spent the rest of his life with Ramakrishna. But meaning that the success in his worldly endeavors was denied by Ramakrishna. And eventually he gave up and joined Ramakrishna and left all of that behind. Namita, we see your hand out there in time and space.
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Hi, good morning.
Yeah. We're in the evening of our life here, but yeah.
Yeah. It's a really, really hot morning here in India. It's blazing. The sun's blazing outside and we are stuck at home because of the lockdown. So nothing much is happening here.
Yeah, and the pandemic has gotten horrible, horribly worse there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's no hold that we can get on this, and the numbers are just keep this like almost 3 lakhs, more than 3 lakhs now, I think, per day. And it's
Yeah.
crazy. And this city, Pune, Baba's city, has been the worst affected. Yeah. So it's horrible.
Yeah. Wow. And then you're in lockdown. You have to stay at home, except for
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is shut down except the grocery stores, but everything else is shut down completely. And on the weekends, even the grocery shops are shut down, and it's really risky to get out and go anywhere. So that's the scene right now. And I was watching this today in the morning. Somehow, whenever it's like probably it's a prelude to what I want to say up to something that's going to follow. I was watching a video in the morning by somebody called Jeffrey Allen, and he was talking about how to not be in your spirit mind and how to be in your heart, something like that. And that's when you came to my mind. And the first thing when I opened my chat in the morning was to see that there is a talk from you today. So somehow I'm always guided to attend these, I don't know, these sessions, these Zoom sessions. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. So it's not like I haven't been listening to you. I have been listening. And it was pretty much what Jeffrey Allen I was listening to in the morning. It was pretty similar to maybe that's why Baba wanted me to attend this,
Uh-huh.
to what you said. Like he also was saying that, he was he was talking about his own life first. And he said he was a software engineer who came from Arizona, and was almost 15 years into his work. And then he realized that that was not for him. And he was feeling suffocated, and he went into this coaching and helping people basically through his intuition. And he does work and right now with people on how to open up their intuition. So it sounded very familiar. And when I switched to you on the Zoom session, you were also saying something to that effect, where you said that, um, okay, now I'm not going to get the words, but if you do not, maybe a lot of us, we're stuck at a place where we do not like what we do. And maybe that is something that we need to shift. Maybe, I don't know. That's what I got as the feeling. We need to go more into our hearts and maybe find out what we need to do. That was one. So maybe you can talk about that. And there's one more thing that I read about suffering, or about accepting things. And this is about Baba. When nothing upsets you, you are at the beginning of the path. When you desire nothing, you are halfway on the path. That's what Baba said.
Uh-huh.
And he said that when nothing becomes everything, you are perfected.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Are you there?
Yeah. 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 Baba said, when nothing upsets you, you're at the beginning of the path.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, there you are. You moved around on the screen here. Yeah. Now, intuition is like another whole valuable subject. I mean, it's our guiding. I mean, the heart and its intuition, ideally, is the best guide. And Baba says that, and how to awaken that and respond to it, and be led by it is the best life. If we can, and we have talked about
But
that.
how do you hone into your intuition?
How what? Say that again.
How do you hone into your intuition? Because like a lot of emotional stuff comes up, and as you work through that emotional stuff, and you kind of realize that there are so many blocks, and they kind of not like, so is there a technique really, or just taking Baba's name, or like people like this guy Jeffrey Allen was saying in the morning, that there are ways to tap into your intuition, and there are actually okay, so we're not getting into those, but I'm trying to ask this question from Baba's, your viewpoint, as to what you might want to say.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get into that place? All the time it is so difficult because there are challenges, and those challenges maybe, or blocks are just affecting our deeper soul connection. Just
Yeah, I mean, it requires, I mean, if you imagine a depth charge, you got to go past the superficial emotions that are always there. Emotions are kind of excitement based. So you have to go down to the deeper feelings, which are tranquil based. Their basis is tranquility. When you get down into the tranquil feelings, the deeper feelings, then what those feelings say is, I find, the best to go by. That's the best guidance. I mean, Baba says intuition is always 100% true, always 100% correct, but accessing the intuition is the great challenge. But we have to, intuitions come out of a quietness and not out of excitement, so you got to go past the emotional, the emotional excitement and the movement. As also, you have to get past the mind with the thoughts. The thoughts are, I find, useless. They're superficial. But then emotions there are the superficial emotions, and then there are the deeper feelings that are right near the soul. And that's where you're going to get your guidance, your intuition. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes when I've had to make a decision, I've had to wait for days and days and days until I get past the whole emotional charge and everything of something and go down and get to the deeper feeling. And when I get to the deeper feeling, there's a quietness, and then I can see what to do. And it can take, I mean, some decisions I've had to, I've had to, taken me a month and a half to get to that place of quiet. But once you're there, you know what to do. And so it takes a certain determination. And yeah,
right.
But it's well worth it. If you can, I mean, sometimes though you're stuck, you have to make a decision before you have a chance to get to that depth. So then I have to make a good decision or the best decision under the circumstances, but it doesn't have the ring of truth that intuition has. So I don't know if that, but we'll talk about that sometime, because accessing the intuition is, Baba says this is the age of intuition. I mean, this is we're meant to discover our intuition and live from there. Yeah, Ram Nori.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. To see what Ram Nori does. He just sits over there in Pune and does nothing, but he might have some answers.
Hey, that's my intuition. My intuition told me to do that.
To do nothing.
Do nothing and enjoy life. We had this discussion in one of the reading sessions, how people go into work, they say, I'm unhappy, because some of things I do are contrary to what Baba says. So I was wondering, why do people actually try to intermingle spirituality and work? And when I was working, I always looked at work as something, hey, that draws me a paycheck, that puts food on my table and that pays my bill. And as soon as I came out of the work, I never even thought about the work. So I think one would be much happier if you don't mix spirituality and a lot of people say, oh, Baba said this, but I'm doing something it's totally different at work. Don't try to mix it. That's what I think. At least I did. I didn't try to
Yeah.
mix things.
You didn't try to approach your work as a spiritual enterprise for Baba. You kind of did it as like breathing, where you kind of kept your interior, your heart in the place you wanted it, and you basically did the work, but you didn't kind of get into the work. You just kind of
I did get into the work. Well, there was creativity involved in it. Writing code and designing software. There was a lot of creativity. So I did enjoy it, but I didn't try to link it with spirituality. I did it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. They paid me for that. End of the story.
Yeah. No, that's a one way of doing it. Sometimes you can make your work as your path, and sometimes it's just a practical consideration.
Yeah.
I mean,
Baba said, be practical.
yeah. Now, my like I say, some work I was able to get into my work, but because it was kind of linked with Baba in a particular way. But I've done other jobs like kind of approaching it the way you've done it. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to reach I'm doing it kind of in a pleasant way, but it's not. My attention is actually at an inner level, primarily, in some of the jobs that I had. We haven't heard from Mayor Prasad though. He's, anything, anything.
I think Alan had his hand.
Alan had.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there was this Baba lover who met Baba I think in the 60s, and he had not been able to get a job except as like a broom sweeper in different places, and like that's the only position he could ever get. But he was like, it was kind of similar to the story you're talking about, where he was, pretty bright guy, but so he went to Baba, and that was one of the things he brought up was like, can I please do something else? And Baba was like, that's the work that you have to do. Keep doing it. So he did that the rest of his life. He just was a sweeper in different buildings, and that was. He's like, that's the work that you need to be doing in this life. And to me, that's pretty like, wow, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just speaking of the job here, I was just kind of cleaning cabins and everything. It wasn't any mental strain. You know what I mean? I didn't. My job was not highly demanding, so I've been able to just kind of hang out with Baba while doing this menial job that I could have done probably from junior high. I could have done the same thing that I've done all these years, but it left me free-minded to focus on Baba. And so I approached it that way. Now, if I was a painter, an artist, then I would be getting into that. And that would be a different approach to work, or like Adrian. I mean, she's into the music, but, if she was working at a music store, that'd be a different matter,
Well, I'm confused about that part of when Baba said that the West has like creativity and art as their yoga, and the East has obviously like yoga and meditation and stuff like that. But where is it? I wonder about now, like people who are not necessarily God focused, but they love to do art, and there's all this, incredible art that's exploding nowadays with the younger generation. I just wonder if that's a way to, like, how does art, I mean, for example, theater or singing, or, I mean, I know how for Adrian, I can see it, I really feel how, because she's singing to God, but with someone who's like, doesn't have that connection, and they're really drawn to be an artist or like a creative person, I wonder how that, I don't know how to connect that. Like even me doing performance like with theater, I try to think of Baba, but then if I do that, it takes me away from my part, like the part that I'm trying to act. So, yeah.
No, I mean, I asked Margaret Craft's dancers, you know, they were on the stage in very high sophisticated ballet. And I asked them, did you think of Baba when you were out there on the stage? And they said it didn't work. They'd think of Baba beforehand, then they'd get into the dance as deeply as they could, and they'd remember Baba afterwards. So sometimes to get lost in your art is Baba then he can work through you, but you're not aware of it. And there might be value in not being aware of it. But anyway, wow, let's see. So, Lanita, you got anything to say over there? Or?
I can't say anything because my connection is choppy and weird.
Yeah. It's working. That you sound good now. Yeah.
I'm
but
sound good now.
Yeah, but before it sounded like you've been drinking, you know. Starkle, little twig. What the heck are you think?
This is Jeff's wine shop. Yeah.
I've been there at the toddy shop.
Yeah. No, Mayor Prasad, you got a quote over there?
Let's see. Yeah, I can do one quote. It says, keep happy and cheerful and never worry about the environment in which you find yourself. Keep happy and cheerful and never worry about the environment in which you find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was it the word? Unwind it?
No, environment.
Environment.
Oh, environment that you are in.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello?
Yep. On the intuition part, you know, I read somewhere, I think it may have been in the Intimate Times, Baba said that when you're quiet and you hear, you know, when you're trying to figure out a decision or an answer, always rely on the first voice you hear. That is my voice. There will soon be another voice that will also be there right after that. That is not my voice. Only the first one is my voice.
So the first one tells you that you should do your studies, and then the second voice says, no, you don't have to do the studies. Yeah. So Josh, what Josh has got his.
It's actually directly related to that. I've heard a Baba quote where I think, so obviously never trust anything I say at face value and do your own research. But I think a lady went to Mayor Baba and asked him, what should I do? And he gave the advice of, she lays her hand on her heart and she feels a little deeply, she gets a little bit quiet, she goes into her heart and she asks the question of the heart. And then yet the first answer that comes up is the one she should do. So I know that someone before was asking about a technique, intuition. That was one. And it was one that I believe Baba gave out, but find the original source to make sure you get it just right. But
yeah. Yeah, that was Roshan Karawala. What Baba said that to her.
Hello, Jeff. May Joshua repeat his wording again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it's the technique that I've heard Baba give is when you don't know what to do, you lay your hand on your heart, you feel deeply into your heart, then you ask yourself that question, and the first answer that you feel comes up out of your heart is one that you should follow. That's advice that I believe I recall Baba giving.
Thank you.
Yeah, Baba gave that advice. I mean, I know he gave that advice to Roshan Karawala. But I always kind of felt if your heart is kind of filled with all sorts of unexamined things, you know, and a lot of negativity, that I mean, she had been with Baba since she was a little girl, so her heart may be cleared out. I don't know if I always thought maybe that might not work for some people. You know, some of our politicians, it might not work.
Hey,
Well, we might. Go ahead.
That's literally the way that. That's literally the way that I sorry, I'm just that was just a very impactful. That really meant a lot to hear that, because that was the way that I came to Baba, because that's the way that I've always done, like since I was younger. I've always had this thing where I never really told anybody this, but it was like you just said it out loud. I was like, I just put my hand on my heart, and then there's this warmth, and if I get a yet, I would ask God. I'd say, should I use this crayon or what? I was just little. I mean, all my whole life I've done this. And then right before, when I met Adrian, and we were just dating, and we just moved in together, and I didn't know anything about Meher Baba, but she said that there was something called the Northeast Gathering, and she said that she's like, would you like to go with me? And it's in New York. And I was like, I hate New York. I don't know. I don't like New York. I don't want to go to New York. I don't know anything about New York. Like, I just felt all this negativity, and I always said that I never wanted to go to New York. But then I remembered that I used to do that thing, and it felt like a big decision. So I put my hand, and she saw me do it, and I stood there in the middle of the room, and I was like, God, do you want me to go to this? And it was just like a big boom, yes. And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but yes, yeah, I'll go with you. And that was basically how I met Charles Haynes and came to Baba ultimately. I mean, it was,
yeah. Beautiful.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Joshua. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. Well, let's see. I have no, just a second here.
Jeff, Ruchi Srivastava has her hand up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Jai Baba, everyone.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
I've been hearing this conversation. So my thing is that, first of all, Baba said certain things to different people, and to keep the perspective in mind is very important, because what he might say to one person might not, as you said rightly, work for the other person. And secondly, the thing is that whenever we are in doubt, we'll take Baba's name and we'll ask him to guide us. Generally, you will get two types of things. One will be a kind of a positive answer, and one will be a kind of a negative answer. So generally, we have to go with the positive answer. That is the understanding which I have of how Baba wants to guide us. So I don't know, I might be wrong, but that is what I have felt in my experience, that there's one thing which is a right way to do a thing, and there's something which is what you want, and it could be materialistic and all, but there is a way of looking at it spiritually. So we should go with the positive guidance which comes through. That is my just a thought.
Yeah. No, I mean, just generally, I would say that's the case, but then the intuition may do some refinements off of that,
Yes.
Because sometimes an intuition will say no, it will say no, and what's interesting, what's great about intuition is usually life. When life plays it out, you can find out whether it was an intuition or whether it was a mental projection. That's what's helped me, is I think, I should do, this would be you know, an important thing to do, and I think I'm operating from intuition, and I do it, and I found out it wasn't important at all. So then that was just a mental projection. So refining the intuition for me has been a lot of trial and error. You know, like I say, I'll look at this person, I'll say, oh, this person, they're not really being honest with me. And then I find out later that they were honest. So that I have to hold myself accountable. You know, I was making a mental projection rather than it being an intuition. So through time, your intuition gets sharper and sharper by seeing where you've misprojected something or where you've seen something clearly. And that's, you know, you do that over 40, 50 years, you get a little clearer. So you're not so surprised by what happens.
Right. Thanks.
It gets better and better. But
Yes.
I found that, yeah, holding myself accountable, you know, Jeff, you said that you were going to go to this gathering and it was going to be terrible. You know, you didn't want to go to it, but you go there and you connect with some people and you have a great time. So afterwards, when I'm leaving, I say, Jeff, your mind said that this is going to be a lousy gathering and you wouldn't enjoy it, and you did. So mind, I can't believe you. You know, you are feeding me wrong material. And I don't mind doing that. I don't mind holding my mind accountable, because that way you're sharpening your intuition and you're disempowering the intellect or the mind to be able to be the arbiter of truth, rather than intuition being the arbiter of truth. Yeah.
Right. Thanks.
Yeah, it gets better and better over time.
Jeff, your version again, maybe repeat it. It's good. Jeff,
Yeah.
but we spoke just now, you may repeat again.
Oh, I'll repeat what I said. Oh God, what did I say? I mean, it's say you there's a situation, and you think that if you go to that situation, you're not going to enjoy yourself at all. But then you go to that situation and you enjoy yourself. So that means that your mind was projecting a falseness on. It wasn't real intuition. So you kind of sharpen your intuition. So you have to hold yourself. I mean, I do. This is my method. I hold myself accountable. Mind, you said that I was not going to enjoy myself in this gathering, and I did enjoy myself. So that way you are taking the power out of the mind to to control things. You know, the mind, we're going to say the mind, I mean, for eons of time, the mind has been the arbiter of what is true and what is false. And then we're moving over to intuition as being the arbiter of what truth is. So there's a battle between the intellect, or the mind being the truth teller, and the intuition. So it's a slow process in which you favor more and more intuition. You learn what is intuition and what is mental projection. And over time, intuition more and more wins out. So that, you know, like someone who was really, I mean, like Margaret Crass was one of the women Mandali. And Baba had very high regard for her, but she had, like, you could tell she had no mental projection. She could just see what was going on. I didn't feel that she was projecting that she would misread anybody or misread a situation. She could see it for what it was. And I thought must have worked out all of these mental projections out of the way so that her intuition could see what this person was like, what that situation was like, what would be funny to say there, what would be insightful there. She was very clear, kind of cleared up the mental projections. You know.
Jeff.
Yeah, Catherine.
So, when we've been talking about intuition a few days back or a week or so. And one of the things that someone mentioned was something about it being part of the spiritual path and it being different than like what you would think of as psychic type experiences, which were more from the mind. And so I found this quote, and sorry if somebody's already read it, but it came from Lord Mayhair, and it was to a couple, Baba continuing explaining about intuition, that it comes from the heart. And it says, when you feel something as intuition and have no doubt about it, then know it is real. Passing doubtful thoughts and temporary emotional feelings should not be given importance. But when you feel it touches your heart, follow it. When it comes from the mind, it is not intuition. Intuition means that which comes from the heart. In the divine path, which I'm seeing as the spiritual path.
Yeah.
First there is intuition, then inspiration, then illumination, and finally realization. If it touches your heart, follow it, and God willing, from today you will know that if it is intuition, it is right. My love will help you. And I think we've probably read some of that, but I just wanted to read it again because
yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
When we talk about being on the path, and what was it you were saying earlier, that you the beginning of the path is where you don't get upset about anything. So it's like, that's where intuition is, so it's and I think, I know I've experienced some things, visions or whatever, but more like on a kind of a psychic sense, which I still think is part of the mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, Baba kind of discouraged psychic abilities, but intuition is a I mean, that's an area we would have to kind of examine a little more closely. The difference between psychic knowing and intuitive knowing. That's another whole subject, but we'll.
Well, like I've had a psychic experience where, I knew something was going to happen and then it happened, but it wasn't like some profound heartfelt thing. It just, and it wasn't like that important really. And I don't even know why I had it,
Yeah. Yeah, I had an intuition. I mean, I had a psychic experience of seeing Joshua throwing his book off the train there.
Don't do it.
I didn't, and I've even been doing some homework whilst listening to you folks. So
good. And this is the way you do your homework. You have company, so it's not so boring. Hey, I have no idea what time it is. Oh yeah, it's not as I thought. It might be even later. Any other?
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah.
Wanted to share this, going back to the thought of not wanting to do something wholeheartedly, but you're kind of forced to do it. I and Prakash were just discussing this. When you're invited to certain gatherings or parties, with amongst friends and with other groups here, there's always this feeling that there are certain places you want to go without even thinking. You want to go and enjoy, but there are certain places where you're thinking, should I go? I don't know if I'll enjoy myself. I don't know if I'll fit in that in that crowd. So that's something that always happens with us, and then we're like kind of dilly dallying and thinking, what should we do?
Yeah.
Northeast gathering, oh, first ones to sign up, always ready.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean though. Yeah, you get invited to various places and then you have to decide whether, you're going to just kind of go through the motions of being there. I mean, I mean, if you can connect with somebody, it makes all the difference. But if it's just a general kind of social gathering and everything's kind of on a superficial level, I have to kind of make a polite retreat, exit, or try to get something going with somebody that is more involving and absorbing, because the social kind of interaction kind of stays at often just at a very superficial level.
Yeah.
And
once a few years back, Prakash had a reunion with his college batchmates, which happened in Michigan, Troy, Michigan, and one of his batchmates organized a big party for all of them. So the whole there were about 30 people who connected, all the from the same batch back when they were in their bachelor's program in India. So so the spouses were invited and the families were invited, and I was fine going there, but Sandeep was not ready to go, and we didn't want him to stay back alone in the house because it was for the whole weekend. So Prakash offered for him to drive to Michigan. He had just gotten his license back.
Yeah.
I said, I'll let you drive the 7 or 8 hours, whatever that was, and to lure him into going with us. And he agreed, but very reluctantly. But when we got there, he had the most fun because he connected with all the kids that were there, and they went out for a late night bowling party and they were partying late. We went to bed, but they were still up and about and having fun, and they played volleyball and all, he had so much fun. He was the one who didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
So that's
No. Yeah. Sometimes if you can.
So we were telling him, you had this mental block, even without thinking what you would be getting into. And then he said, yeah, I know. I really had a good time. So.
Yeah, and see that kind of the way I have done it is like, say, Jeff, you thought you were going to go to this thing and it was going to be totally boring, and it wasn't at all. And I mean, most people they don't even hold themselves accountable. They just go on to the next experience. But that's where I've kind of felt. I always felt myself is, no, I mean that's a serious mistake. I projected that this would be a boring thing, and my parents are dragging me there when it turned out to be a great experience. And because we're working with the mind and intuition and the mind, and so that's a good example of how far off the mind can be. And yet we listen to it, hey, this is going to be boring. My parents are going to be there at some reunion. Oh my God.
Michael,
I don't, I see.
Yeah, but then how do you?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I just wanted to know. That's exactly what I have been, saying right from the beginning, that how do you get past these blocks, and does meditation help? It does help. I know it does help. And, calming the mind, like you say, and, filtering through the layers of whatever emotional stuff is going on. Are you able to hear me, Jeff? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, good. Yeah.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
I mean, what I'm trying to build up here, what I'm trying to actually get to is the part where, which I mentioned earlier, the blockages. And, is it what really, I mean, you don't know. I mean, I'm listening to a lot of motivational videos, and you know, and meditating and working on myself, taking Baba's name. So there's so much that one can do to get rid of these blockages and come to a point of maybe you know, that you know, unconditional love. I mean, completely off track now, I know, but am I making sense?
Well, I mean, but what are the blockages are keeping you from being enthusiastic about things, or what are the blockages? I mean, what are you being blocked from?
Yeah, block from is essentially experiencing the now the way it is and accepting the situation, not being able to do what I think I need to or want to do, actually not need to, but want to do. So that's a big challenge right now, especially because of this pandemic. And also, like, I'm thinking about switching from a current job profile that I had and getting into something new. So that in itself is a big challenge, you know. That's one aspect, yeah. So that's one thing, yeah. And staying in the now, so being focused on just where I am. um you know, it's just kind of requires a lot of effort and daily motivational stuff happening around me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're kind of like stuck at home, so your normal outlets for your heart expression is being even blocked, not even just by circumstances. So what, you're kind of stuck at home and you're kind of running out
Yeah.
of things to do.
Oh no, you know, so that's really strange. It was day before yesterday. I was like, packed with work. I was dog tired, and suddenly had this chocolate making class, and I needed to attend. And I'm like, I can't do this. But my intuition, like the voice inside, said, you gotta do this. Whatever it is, muster up all your energy and get going. So I went there, and it was like I decided I'm not going to spend more than 45 minutes with this woman. But it turned out to be like an amazing 1.5 to almost 2 hours. And I came back feeling even more enthused and
Yeah.
excited. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm glad I listened to my little voice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that. I mean, all that is like, yeah, all that's about learning, learning how you, you know, how you tick, so to speak, and those are all invaluable. I mean, to find out where your enthusiasm is, or where your natural flow it wants to go, is one of the major secrets of being happy. Is that you know, you're able to find out where you want to flow.
Jeff, I was thinking something. It reminded me with when dealing with the mind. It reminds me of a Martin Luther King quote, and I don't know the exact quote, but it has to do with, you know, you can't fight fear with fear. You know, you can't fight the mind with the mind. And so that's where I'm kind of like, you just go to the heart, you just love, and you kind of have to ignore the mind, because if you keep trying to fix the mind, you know, you focus on it more and more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the mind is like a Doberman pincer. You know, you don't really want to wake it up. No, I mean, tiptoe past the mind and get to your heart. I feel that emotions are even preferable to thought, but the deeper feelings are preferable to the superficial emotions.
Just being in the heart and being in the love is going to eliminate the mind. That's what will do the trick. So you don't have to even worry about it too much.
Yeah, when I was young, Erich really encouraged me to bring my consciousness from being up in my head down into at the heart level, and then staying there, not going. Make the mind go down to the heart to do its, you know, its service, rather than going up. being.
Yeah, I do like a heart-centered type of prayer
Yeah.
meditation, and you actually feel like you're coming from your heart.
Yeah, yep. That's what he
Good
encouraged.
night, all. Gotta
Hello?
go.
Oh,
Good
Lenita?
night.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
I'm
Yeah.
retiring to good night, Jay Baba.
Yeah, we're probably getting here kind of late.
Good night.
I have a feeling, let's have one last, we'll have a poem from Michael Childs before we go off into our nightly confusion.
Okay. Guzzle D. Where are you, gentle lover, who seeks me with your gaze? Behind a tree, in my lover's arms, in clouds, on never-ending roads. Where are you now, my hummingbird, flitting before my sight? At this blossom or at that, mysterious little bird beyond my reach. Now I seek you, now I don't. Lost in daydreams and life's demands, your beauty makes me wonder. I turn in thought to find you gone. Where are you now? And now? And now? Who am I that forgets to forget myself and seek myself in you who are myself, even in my forgetfulness? Reeling before the onslaught of my mind, I pulled a trap set for you, only to find it empty.
Read that again. I mean, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Where are you, gentle lover, who seeks me with your gaze? Behind a tree, in my lover's arms, in clouds or never-ending roads? Where are you now, my hummingbird, flitting before my sight? At this blossom or at that, mysterious little bird beyond my reach? Now I seek you, now I don't. Lost in daydreams and life's demands, your beauty makes me wonder. I turn in thought to find you gone. Where are you now? And now? And now? Who am I that forgets to forget myself and seek myself in you who are myself, even in my forgetfulness? Reeling before the onslaught of my mind, I pull the trap set for you, only to find it empty.
Beautiful.
That's very good. That's very clever.
Yeah, we know that place, Michael. You reminded us of that place.
You're welcome.
Hey, so, well, what do you think? Do you think we should take off here? Let's see, yeah. I think it must be around midnight or something on the East Coast here. If there's any last minute things, I mean, I want to mention this, next Sunday, we're going to have, I'm going to interview again Nashawin Nalavala. And it's going to be his teenage years and his early adult years with Baba. And he has some of the correspondence and things that Baba said to him, and then his times with Baba at Guru Prasad. So that should be firsthand experiences that he had with Baba. But I think we should all pray for Joshua that he'll do his studies faithfully before we go. So now let's have a few moments.
Do you want another poem or do you want silence?
Well, I think that's that's up to you folks. You want to have a moment of silence? I mean, we've been hanging out here for a couple of hours. It's probably getting a little bit late.
We can have poem and silence.
Yeah, okay, that's what we'll do. Good. We're keeping Jay Seema up here because he's the host.
Okay. Guzzle G. I yearn for my pleasure like I yearn for you, but once attained, that the satisfaction still remains. Over and over, the cycle turns and turns, never closer, never further, never the final embrace that would be my end and my beginning, the one in which I find myself embracing self, the universe disappearing, the glance, the touch, the bliss of being one, the stillness of the very core that blazes forth creation. I seek that union with thee, Lord. Thou art the woman of my heart, the mistress of my soul. Like Odysseus on his way to Penelope, I have been with others, but always, always true to thee. Touch me, caress me, take me in your arms. You are my soul, my only love, the one whom I adore. Inconstant, faithless, a traitor to your name, shameless and brazen, I stand before your door.
Read that once again, just a little bit slower. and then after you're done, we'll have silence.
I yearn for my pleasure like I yearn for you. But once attained, a dissatisfaction still remains. Over and over, the cycle turns and turns, never closer, never further, never the final embrace that would be my end and my beginning, the one in which I find myself embracing self, the universe disappearing, the glance, the touch, the bliss of being one, the stillness of the very core that blazes forth creation. I seek that union with thee, Lord. Thou art the woman of my heart, the mistress of my soul. Like Odysseus on his way to Penelope, I have been with others, but always true to thee. Touch me, caress me, take me in your arms. You are my soul, my only love, the one whom I adore. Inconstant, faithless, a traitor to your name, shameless and brazen, I stand before your door.
Beautiful. Yeah, let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you guys.
Baba ki jai.
Avatar, Mera Baba.
Mera Baba ki
Ki
jai.
jai. Avatar.
Mera Baba ki jai.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. We covered quite a territory there. But anything you want to bring forward, don't hesitate, because these are some of the burning issues that we have to deal with Baba. We're all going through.
Budding souls.
Budding souls? Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you everyone. I'm going to head off, but thank you so much. I'll see you next week, everyone.
Yeah, great, Joshua. Great to see you. Love to your dad too.
Oh, your rest of the ride.
Yeah.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.
Guys. Yeah. Good night, Jai Baba.